Oh, just so I have it for reference. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How you doing, Cameron? Yeah. Yeah. Well, for those of you who missed it last night, we already covered the Chauvin verdict on the show on a good long cast last night. We did an hour with Alex McDonald. There's Steve Rodemeyer, and your icon changed somehow, Steve. It just, that's weird. Anyway, not your emoji, your avatar, but the little icon next to your name that says where you're watching from. I guess we must have some kind of a hiccup with the YouTube link. Because I see James is watching on Facebook. Steve and Danny are watching, I'm assuming from YouTube, but I'm getting a weird icon where the YouTube icon should be to designate their source point. So, anyway. And there's Tim Lowry. Morning, will not comply. Agreed. So, what did we learn yesterday?
Well, one thing that we learned yesterday is Tim Pool's theory about how we're sitting in the same theater but somehow watching two totally different movies is true. I mean, guilty on all counts. And, putting aside how you feel or don't feel about the manslaughter thing, murder requires a frame of mind, and Chauvin did not have that frame of mind, and it's baffling that the murder conviction came down. The manslaughter, not so much, even though I made the point on this show that based on the things that had come out, the manslaughter should also not be guilty. But that one I can at least understand. But the murder, man...
Yeah, the intent element, I mean... No reasonable thinking person can possibly say in good faith that the intent element is established without reasonable doubt. That's a false statement.
So, anyhow, and of course, CNN's, they're not just taking their victory lap. Now they've got the momentum, and they want to move the ball down the field. And from a purely cold-blooded Machiavellian type perspective, I mean, credit to them, pressure advantage when you have it.
Oh, yeah, I mean, God forbid they set down their copy of Rules for Radicals for half a second. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't got much in me this morning for this particular topic, just because we treated it so thoroughly yesterday evening, and I am tired of talking about these cases. This insane idea that the police are systemically racist and actively targeting blacks, it's a lie. You're lying.
Yeah. So, and I'm okay with doing a shorter cast this morning, but let's at least try and stick to the format. What are we looking at there on CNN's front page?
WTF CNN. So let's look at the homepage for just a second. The great big line across the top says, "The law finally worked. All eyes now turn to the Senate." The law finally worked. And of course, everything on the homepage is Chauvin, except for this one little blurb about the black teenage girl who was killed by police. They're going to make a big deal about the injustice there. Y'all, go watch that body cam footage. The police had arrived on the scene where multiple people were engaged in a large multiple person fist fight, and after the police showed up, and because of the violence of the situation, had already drawn their firearms, this chick pushes a cop out of her way to try and knife somebody with a big-ass fillet knife, and that's when the cop shot her. So, go miss me with your dindu. But this headline, the law finally worked, all eyes now turn to the Senate.
Yeah, because it's totally the law when a lynch mob influences a jury. That sounds like Law and Order to me.
Yeah. And the law worked. Oh yeah, we're gonna hold them. We're gonna hold people accountable. Oh, are we? We're holding an officer accountable for. Okay, let me grant you that for a moment. Will we hold the president accountable, or Maxine Waters accountable, for inciting violence and jury tampering? Okay,
Probably not.
Let's be clear. What Biden did when he came out before the verdict and said it is that this should be a guilty verdict, that's not an inappropriate action for a president to take. That's a crime. When Maxine Waters demanded that the violence be escalated, be elevated, that's a crime. Ooh, Isaac's with us. Isaac, tell us. I would love to hear your thoughts, my friend. I would love to hear what you have to say about this. And frankly, I hope you're floating a resume right now, because I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little worried about you, brother.
Well, he's in Indiana, thankfully. That's still a relatively red area. There does seem to be a difference between blue areas and red areas, and Indiana's mostly red.
Yeah, and you're right. There is a big difference between red areas and blue areas. If you started rioting like that, in a deep red area, all those little small businesses that you're trying to burn down, without putting too fine a point on it, roof Koreans are going to be the least of your worries.
Well, truthfully, you wouldn't even be able to get very far rioted. Like I live in very much small town America that is a deep red area. Like we joke about how Marjorie Taylor Greene is my representative. You'd have a hard time even starting the riot.
Yes.
Like, it would not go very far if you tried that in my hometown. It just wouldn't.
Oh man, I've got a tweet that's getting a lot of reaction. That's interesting. Last night, you know what? That's interesting enough to bear comment. Let me pull it up and I'll share it with you. I just had to reach over and silence my phone because all of a sudden people are liking and sharing this tweet that I dropped. Damn it. I wish I could see the tweet. Oh, there it is. Got it. Okay, so last night, Eric Erickson tweeted, "The deaths of Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd would have passed without much notice, but for cameras and video. How many have died unjustly, unseen?" And I replied to him, I have a better question. How many people will die now because the police have just been abolished by the Chauvin verdict defining arrests as felony assaults? Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it can't be undone now. And as Alex pointed out on our show last night, well, this is precedent now. This is case law that will be referenced. And that's one reason why the left loves to use the court system, because you've just got to get one judge to agree with you once. And then you can cite that judge forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And you can have some insane rulings come down. Like, for example, that whole Dred Scott ruling being used as a justification to have slaves in this country. Yeah, you could argue that Supreme Court decision directly contributed to the Civil War. They could have put a stop to the shit right then and there, but they didn't. They didn't. They just said, never mind, Dred Scott. You're not a person. You're a piece of property. And, it's not just what happened here. Well, for example, how long before some judge rules, no, in fact, your child will go on puberty blockers even if you don't want them to? Just as one of the first examples that I can think of.
Haven't we already gone there? Hasn't that already happened?
Not to my knowledge, not in this country, at least.
There was the dad that, what was James Young? There it is. I found it. James Younger. This is 2019. This was the one with the 7-year-old kid who the jury decides against dad seeking to block 7-year-old from gender transition. And that's the one where we saw all the video footage where the kid's mom kept pushing him. No, you'd rather wear a dress. No, you'd rather be called Luna. You feel more like a girl than a boy. And the father's no, we're not doing this. And the jury said, nope, tough shit. The boy gets drugs. So, yes, it has already happened that a court has decided to castrate a man's son because his sociopath mother.
I guess the last thing I want to leave off on, because I am mentally exhausted from all of it. One of the things that bothers me the most, and it's not just what I said last night about how this could happen to any of us that find ourselves in a violent situation. And it's not even just like, there's going to be a whole lot of cops in Minnesota to start floating resumes. That's for damn sure. Of course, the irony is you need them the most in those blue areas. But what I really, really, really hate about this is the abdication of responsibility. One of the things that I have pressed from the beginning was that the reason why this happened is not because Derek Chauvin or any of the other police officers involved arrested George Floyd or were even violent with George Floyd while they arrested him.
Right.
This happened because George Floyd was a lifelong criminal who somehow kept dodging bullets and dodging bullets and dodging bullets. And we now know the rest of the details of the case. They were there doing a drug deal and they were buying speedballs, and somehow it seemed like a good idea in the middle of a drug deal to go into this store and try and buy smokes with a counterfeit $20 bill. And that's what got everything involved. So you had all these crimes happen all at once, okay? That's what caused this to happen. And then when he was being arrested, he's the one that said, put me on the ground, put me on the ground. And they even found like a half a speedball in the cop car with George Floyd's DNA on it.
Yeah, apparently he coughed it up while he was assaulting the police.
Look, maybe he would have died if he had been rolled over on his side, and maybe he would have survived if he'd been rolled over on his side. And that is a fair discussion to have. But what you can't get around is George Floyd put himself in that position. And to somehow say Derek Chauvin bears all this responsibility for a lifetime of dumbass decisions on George Floyd's part is mentally exhausting to me to even have to consider that. Like, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Treat everything in your life like it's your fault. Like, you'll be amazed at how much better your life will get once you stop making excuses and go, you know what? I probably could have made a different choice there. Boom. Free your mind and your ass will follow. But nope, not in this case. In this case, Derek Chauvin is going to sit in jail as a token, as an example. And it's not going to be enough. You give them an inch, they're going to want a mile. And then when you give them a mile, they're going to want 10 miles. It's never enough for the statists. Mark Levin writes in Liberty and Tyranny that the biggest problem with compromising with statists is they always come back and go, well, we just need a little bit more power and a little bit more control, and then we'll get it right. Oh, oops, our bad. We just need a little more power and a little more control, and then we'll get it right, and so forth and so on. The march away from liberty is slow and methodical, and the left is willing to move at that pace. And just everything about this is terrible. It's terrible. Hell, why am I responsible for my own life at this point? It might even be better for my family for me to go out into the world, be a fuck up, get killed, let my local municipality give my kids $30 million fucking dollars. At least they'll be able to afford college.
But let's be real, Cameron. Your local municipality doesn't have $30 million.
But I mean, you get my point. I may have woke up and had quite a few black pills with my coffee this morning.
Well, I just had my coffee black. That'll have to do for now.
But yeah, that's all I got, man.
Yeah, that's all I've got for this morning too. We'll have a better show tomorrow. We'll come up with something interesting. In fact, I tell you, I'll say this right now: if we don't come up with something super interesting for tomorrow's show, before my head hits the pillow tonight, then tomorrow's show, Cameron, you want to just follow up on yesterday's Happy Thoughts show? Or you want to put that on? No, we'll follow up on it.
Let's put that off to next Tuesday. Give it a week. Let's see what kind of information Jordan Peterson can gather.
Okay, in that case, let me do this before we get off the air. Guys, whoever's on Twitter, if you are, I'm going to see if I can pull up the Jordan Peterson tweet that we were talking about yesterday, and I'm going to link it. I'm gonna link it in the chat real quick. Damn, Jordan. He's been tweeting his little head off.
Buddy, are you still there?
Yeah. Looks like, oh, thank God. Here it is. I was trying to find it. There's a link to the tweet. This is the tweet we were talking about. Jordan Peterson, a serious question. What thoughts do you have that you consider reliable and true that are also truly happy? It didn't get nearly the traction that I wish it would have. But there it is. So, all right, you guys be safe out there, and we will see you tomorrow.